It really does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's like paying it forward for all the good things that you have in
Absolutely.
your life. I read the forward in the book and how much you love your family and
Yeah.
your dedication. You four or five kids? Four?
I have, I'll call them 5. I have 3 from my first marriage, and my wife has 2 children that I'll call my children. We don't use the word stepchildren. We call them escalator parents and escalator children, because an escalator sounds so much better than steps. It's going up.
Oh, okay.
So the kids call me their escalator dad. So yeah, I have 5 children. I now have 2 grandchildren.
Nice.
I have 2 living parents who I'm blessed to have, and a brother and a sister. And yeah, and family is really important. So yeah, this is my world is where it's supposed to be finally.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody watches the marathon and the Hoyts. But just tell me about this book now.
Okay.
This is interesting as well.
This is Destined to Run.
Yeah, by Wes Harding. And on his arm, he has tattooed in, "Yes, I can"?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Yeah. Is that a real tattoo? Or
No, but I won't show it because I have a hairy back. But I have a Team Hoyt tattoo on my back that says "Yes, you can," a real tattoo. And I got that before last year's marathon. I'm a little bit of a extrovert. So last year we had all our Team Hoyt runners. We have a Team Hoyt marathon team. So I naturally took my shirt off to show my tattoo.
So how many people actually run with them, and does he?
Wes does, yes. The Hoyts have a foundation in which they raise money and awareness for disabled people, and then through their foundation they make some great donations to Easter Seals, or I know that they provide support to an equestrian camp for disabled people. So the money they raise, they pay forward as well to disabled people. So each year they have a marathon team. Last year there were 30 runners because it was their 30th marathon. So we get some extra bibs.
Yep.
And so they're runners from around the country who become part of the team. They have to raise $5,000 each. And in order to become a member of the team, they have to send an essay to Kathy and Dick Hoyt and Rick to tell why they want to be a member of the team.
Oh.
So there's some awesome stories. One of the team members is from Saskatchewan, and his story is he was in a car accident maybe about 8 years ago. He hit a moose head on. He was left paralyzed. Doctor said, "You will never walk again." Well, last year he ran the Boston Marathon. He's also an Ironman, which means he's done some races that are 2-mile swims,
Right. Oh, yeah.
110-mile bikes, and 26-mile marathon. Wes's story. Wes was an overweight couch potato. He weighed about 225 pounds, with, he says, gusts up to 240. And at 40 years old, he didn't like the way he looked or felt or behaved. One of the first chapters in the book tells about the eating binges that he would go on, and they're beyond description. He once had a contest with his brother-in-law in which at Thanksgiving dinner he gained 6 pounds because they just ate and ate and ate as a contest. And it's almost vulgar. He would sit at home at night. He wouldn't eat during the day. And then he'd come home at night and he'd have a big meal, and his wife would bake him a pie. Not a piece of pie, but a pie. And if his kids wanted a piece of pie, he would say, "No, you go get your own pie. This is my pie." One day, about New Year's Eve, where we all resolved to make ourselves better, Wes said, "You know what? Enough is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore." And you or I might say, "Okay, we're going to go out and run." Wes said, "I'm going to run a marathon." And again, psychologically, I think the person who becomes addicted to food may be the same person who becomes addicted to marathon running. He got off the couch. He used to run at night because he was so embarrassed to run by daylight. But he got up off the couch and he started to run. The first night he ran a 5K or 3 miles, which is admirable. You know, if I go out, when I ran several years ago, I've actually run a marathon, Boston, and the first time I went out, I ran 1 telephone pole.
Yeah.
And patted myself on the back and said, "Good boy," and went home and said I'd do it again tomorrow. He went out and he ran 5K. And he tells a story of his transgression from 240-pound couch potato to a 145-pound, very gifted and competitive marathon runner.
Is
Wes
he running in Boston?
He's running
as
in
well?
Boston again, but if you look at the picture in his book, he went from looking like me to looking like,
Yeah.
oh my God, he's ripped.
And how old is he?
He's 44 now, so he's done all this in 4 years.
Wow. He looks so happy.
He's so happy. He's a different person.
Yeah.
And the book is more than that. And
It's a spiritual journey.
it is. When I went up to see Wes, I met him last year in April at the marathon, and then I went up to see him in October of this year he did a book tour for me for One Letter at a Time. So we went to a group at his church called Run for God, and then the next day he had us at a mall where we sold some books, then at his church the next day. And for the 4 days, we sat around and we talked about him. And I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan. Are you? No?
No.
Okay. There's a chapter in Seinfeld where Kramer takes you on what's called the Peterman Reality Tour. And he puts you on a bus and you go around town and he tells you about all the different things that happen in town. Well, Wes kind of did the same thing for me, but I didn't realize that he was telling me about his book. So he took me to the place where he lived when he met his wife, and he took me to an area of Sarnia, Ontario called Chemical City, where all the chemical plants were and whatever. I didn't know he was telling me his story. At the end of 4 days, I said, Wes, you know, what you've done, you have a book here. There's so much that happened in this man's life. He lost a child at an early age. His parents had a business, a big cleaning business, that they had no insurance, and it burned to the ground, and they made the decision to rebuild it. One of his daughters was born with the tendons in her legs backwards, so her legs actually faced backwards, and they called in surgeons to correct it. And Wes, again, he's a very spiritual man. His wife is very spiritual. They prayed, and within days, when the doctor came from out of town, the daughter's legs were no longer backwards. Believe
That's
what
a
you
miracle.
want. It's a miracle. Some people say, okay, whatever. Some people don't. I say when I helped Wes write this, the number of things that have happened in his life that most people would trip up and fall down, and he, through his faith in God, has gotten up and overcome beyond belief. I keep on trying to convey to people, you know what? If you don't run or you don't need to lose weight, it doesn't matter. This book is way more than that.
Yeah.
It's about just,
the
it's about
depth of it.
believing. It's about yes, you can. That's what it's about. It's about never saying no because you don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not a religious person. So Wes is able to quote scripture that I think I know the Adam and Eve story, and that's pretty much it. But, you know, through his use of what he knows and is able to speak, the book just, it came out far better than I ever believed it could have, because he has a gifted way of telling his story. And I said to you, I don't take credit for this book. Rick and I, we wrote that book together because Rick would share his ideas with me, and I'd have to take his ideas and put them onto paper to convey to an audience. So Rick and I say in the book, the words you read are Rick's thoughts and my way of presenting those thoughts. If, you know, I'm going to sound egotistical, if Rick could write as well as that book came out, he'd be not only a gifted athlete, but a gifted writer too. Wes, all I would do is I'd take what he wrote and I'd fluff it up a little. He calls it todding it up. You know what it is. It's a person who maybe doesn't have the ability to polish it. So that's what I did for Wes, and he was gracious enough to put my name on the cover and give me half of proceeds, which is cool too.
That's cool.
But it's, you know, I feel Wes is the author of that book and I'm the polisher of that book. It really, the stories in it are amazing.
And once again, they can obtain that book through your website, which why don't you say it again?
Civin Media Relations, all one word, no capitals, .com. And then Wes is also destinedtorun.net. And then all the other places too. And Wes is really, he's from Canada, so he's really gotten a great following in the Canadian market. Yeah, and he's, the city of Sarnia is about 100,000 people. It's a pretty little city. I went there in October, and he's become sort of a legend in the town. He was this year, in the city, this year he was voted one of Sarnia's 10 most influential people. They can't keep the book in the bookstores in Sarnia. Sunday night he met and he spoke to a church group. And they said after the speaking engagement, we're not comfortable selling the book here, but you can get it at Cole's bookstore or at the gym where Wes works out. And the next day, both venues called Wes up and said, dude, you got to bring us more books. We can't keep them in here.
Wow,
so
nice.
they really, they're flocking to Sarnia. We have a friend that we met through One Letter at a Time who lives in northern Michigan, who's having Wes out in May to run a marathon and do a book signing there. Oh, and we have a book signing Saturday morning of the marathon at the Prudential Center at Barnes & Noble.
Oh,
so
good.
he's,
That's
yeah,
good for people to know.
yeah, and that's,
Very
we
good.
call that the only appearance of Todd Civin and Wes Harding together on U.S. soil. Because whatever, who knows when we'll
Yeah.
get a chance to do this
Yeah.
again.
Well, thank you so much for coming. We need to wrap this up, but
Got it.
once again, the marathon's this Monday. They
Monday,
can get the books
go ahead.
just about anywhere on your website, and also if they went into a bookstore, they could order it.
Or ask for it,
Or ask
you know.
for it. They might have it in there.
Yeah, the way it happens now is they ask for it, and those people are able to get it from our distributor.
Yeah,
so,
you have a
so get it
distributor.
in there, and
Nice.
we'll be thrilled.
Nice. Well, I wish you so much luck.
Thank you. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Thanks for
Yes,
having me.
And thank you for coming to Table Talk. Good night.